Seeing Grendel thus pinioned by the Geatish hero, thus tortured and weakened by his pain, Beowulf's companion in arms drew their swords and sprang now to his side to help him in his fight, to finish, if they could, this murderer's wretched life. They were not to know, Beowulf's battle friends, that no man-made sword, no steel, could pierce this cruel creature's enchanted hide. Only naked strength could end his unnatural life. Grendel understood this, and he knew he was weakening, that his end must be near. He could think of no possible way to escape. Great-hearted Beowulf, sensing his sagging strength, still had the beast by the arm. Now he twisted it and turned it until shoulder muscles split apart, the tendons snapped, the bone joints burst, and Grendel's arm was ripped and wrenched, bleeding from his body. Then Grendel fled, armless and half dead already from Heorot. Over the moors he staggered and stumbled, through the fens back to his den, knowing all the while that this was his last day on earth, that his life's blood was draining from him. He was dying his death. So Beowulf the good had triumphed in his bitter fight with Grendel the evil one. Thus were all Danish hopes fulfilled, and Beowulf's promise to them too. He had destroyed the great destroyer with his bare hands, saved Hrothgar's royal mead house and the Danish people from further terrors, and given them back the sanctuary of their hearth and their home, so that everyone should know that the tyrant was truly dead, and their grief finally at an end. The hero hung high in the gables of Heorot, where all could see it and marvel at it too, the whole torn-off limb, shoulder, arm, and hand, gruesome witness to the monster's violent end. By the next morning, the news of the great fight at Heorot had spread throughout the land. They came in the hundreds from the seashore, from the fens and the moors and mountains, from near and far, to see this hideous limb hanging there in the hall, and then to follow the fiendish foe's last footprints through the shadowy forest and the moor mist, tracking the trail of blood to the monster's marsh pool. To this remote and dismal place the dying monster had come only hours before, the last of his blood ebbing fast from his faltering step. Here he had dived to his miserable death, his hot wound blood bubbling and boiling in the brackish waves. So he had sunk at last to his cavernous lair below, and had died there alone in his agony, to be welcomed back in hell, where he belonged. Beowulf's marvelous feat was now the talk of Heorot and all the Danish lands beyond. None was his equal, they said, none braver, none more worthy, even to be king here in Denmark in his own right. And this was not said to slight great Hrothgar, for he was a good and much loved king of his people, but only in praise of Beowulf and his great courage and strength. That day the poet wove his word song, told the story of a hero in glowing golden language, rang the word changes, and all who were there remembered and told it again and again, so that their children and their children's children should never forget his daring deeds, nor the noble name of Beowulf either. That evening all were summoned to Heorot, to that splendid mead hall, freed now forever from Grendel's evil reign, and cleansed of the night's hot horrors. Beowulf the Great, as guest of honor, came in with Hrothgar the king and his glorious queen, with all her maidens following, and gathering there now too, thronging Hrothgar's happy hall, were all the thanes and warriors, anyone who could find a place, each of them gazing in awe at the sight of Grendel's dreadful arm hanging there from the rafters. But it was not chiefly this grisly reminder they had come for, but to see Beowulf, their great champion, sitting beside good King Hrothgar, and to show their joyous triumph and their relief at this timely, blessed deliverance. Taking his stand on the steps, his queen and Beowulf on either side, Hrothgar began his speech of thanks, and all there listened to every gracious word. Let our thanks be first to God above for his mercy. To the Master of heaven and the Master of this earth, worker of all miracles, for it is he who has brought Grendel to his death at last. I will be honest with you. Until yesterday, until Beowulf came, I doubted whether Grendel, and I curse his name for all the grief he brought to us, could ever be overcome, whether this loveliest of all mead halls could ever truly be ours again, whether the damned demon's bloodletting slaughter could ever be brought to an end. Then God sent us this man, this hero among men, now here at my side, the noble Beowulf, and his companions in arms, and together they have achieved in one night what we have tried and failed to do in 12 years of long sorrow. What mother would not have been proud to have